Hello Miss So and whoever else is watching this. In this video I'm going to be describing the relationships among globalization, identity and culture with the help of two cool people that I'm going to be interviewing, my father and my cousin.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids.
Before we get into everything, let's define the term globalization. Globalization is the interaction of people from all over the world, often resulting in the sharing and integration of products, ideas, cultures, and knowledge. Globalization can range from anything between international trade, social media, travel to other countries, or even war. And since everyone around the world has different cultures, traditions, worldviews, and social norms, the mixing of people from different backgrounds and countries often result in pretty impactful changes in people's lifestyles, worldviews, and identities. As Sophie was typing this paragraph, she realized something. She too has been deeply affected by globalization. She too has felt left out thanks to the consequences of globalization. Her English is better than her Chinese, making her accented Chinese ridiculed by her peers. She has no knowledge of Hong Kong pop stars, as they have all been replaced by various K-pop idols. She can barely read road signs in her own native country. She is terrified, alone. Is this what globalization entails? Ostracization, loneliness, emptiness? Will everyone tangled in the ice-cold grasp of globalization lead lives as pariahs, neither conforming to their native culture, nor truly belonging enough?
So you and me talk about my struggles with globalization, but is this negative consequence always the case with cross-cultural interactions? Let's ask my dad to see what he thinks about globalization.
I don't think so. In fact, I think the contrary is correct. I think by me having exposure to Western culture actually makes me more aware of my identity of being a Chinese. For example, if I never appreciated Chinese New Year so much because that was the norm, right? We have all these festivities. But, since my time in the US, of being away from the Chinese culture, if I go to, let's say, a Chinatown during the festive seasons, it actually makes me more aware and more appreciative of the Chinese festivals, the festivities. Well, I think, like I said before, I did spend some time in the US when I was growing up. I went to high school there, so I immersed myself in the Western culture, as well as making a lot of non-Chinese friends. My roommate was German in my first year of high school, and he actually was the one that taught me how to fish, because he was really into fishing in the river, which frankly in Hong Kong I never had the opportunity to do so. So I think by having that experience really helps me from being able to identify, appreciate other cultures, and of course as well as my being Chinese. So I think it actually helps.
I see.
I think definitely we should be more open-minded. Globalization is not a monster. Globalization is, in fact, the norm. The world is getting smaller. You can Skype people, your friends in different countries. I think the connectivity of people are definitely getting stronger. So it is important that this is a trend that is irreversible. And I think it's actually good for people to actually be open-minded about what other cultures might bring and be positive about it. I think one thing about Hong Kong people is that they are, because of this history of changes of our government or the sovereignty of Hong Kong, it has made Hong Kong people very adaptive. Hong Kong people are known to be very adaptive to change and very practical. So, I mean, it's a constant change. I don't think it has, I mean, it's just part of the identity. I think it's part of our DNA. I think I would start by saying culture is not static. Culture is actually a journey. The culture changes, and that's what it's meant to be. In the old days where television or communication is not as advanced as today, you wouldn't really be making friends in Korea, in Afghanistan, or in Africa. Whereas right now, you can call your friends anywhere. You can Skype them. So that's why I believe that the world is getting smaller. So it is like I said, it's an irreversible trend, and it's actually a good thing that people can appreciate each other more, because I believe that a lot of the past conflicts, political conflicts or war, in fact, are driven by a misunderstanding or misconception of certain cultures.
So now that you guys heard about my dad's experiences with globalization, let's move on to Kate to see how she feels about globalization and identity.
Even though I was born in Canada, I don't think that has affected me because I moved to Hong Kong when I was 1 year old, so I was too young to know anything. I believe my linguistic identity is both English and Chinese because over the years of my education, I've been exposed to those two languages. I believe that the universalization of popular culture is advantageous because it unifies us. It allows us to share things with one another across the world. Okay, I think that Hong Kong is multicultural because while the majority of people are Chinese, Hong Kong also contains other ethnic groups including Indians, Filipino, Indonesians, and Western people. So a few years back when I was in primary school, everyone liked K-pop, and I was the only few who had no interest in K-pop. So I kind of felt left out in some way. Nice.
So, from the last two interviews I conducted, we could definitely see how people's identities are influenced by globalization, even the people closest to us. We are all affected by globalization, whether we want to be or not, and the changes we go through could either benefit or detriment ourselves, our identities, and our society as a whole. So how could we see that globalization fundamentally changes our identity? We can see it in the way that my father and Kate both incorporate English into their linguistic identity, even though both of them are Chinese by blood. We can see it in the way that they're both affected by foreign cultures. When my father learned to fish, and Kate felt left out because she didn't feel the same way about foreign pop stars as her friends did. We can see it in the way that we attend an international school, and make friends and meet teachers from all over the world. And we can see it in the way that multiculturalism and cultural identity are so visible all around the metropolis of Hong Kong. So how can globalization challenge our identity? Globalization has such a great impact to our collective and individual identities. Thus, it is understandable to believe that once original cultures and traditions could be lost if they were to immerse themselves too deep into foreign cultures. Furthermore, another challenge that could come with globalization would be the marginalization of some people, either because their identities have been changed too much thanks to globalization, or because society has been changed too much from globalization. An example would be like how I became too invested in Western culture, and my English eventually became better than my Chinese. This resulted in me being ridiculed by my friends, who are more fluent in Chinese than I am, and creating a language barrier that I struggle to break even now. An example of the latter would be how Kate's friends all grew invested in music from another country, while she had no interest in it, thus leading to her feeling left out of her friend groups. How do we respond to these challenges then? Of course, for the sake of preservation and respect of cultures, and to prevent your own culture from becoming a victim to the threat of assimilation, we mustn't allow ourselves to completely immerse ourselves in other people's cultures, for the reason of respecting and embracing your own culture first. However, at this moment of time where everyone around the world is so easily accessible and easy to communicate with, becoming affected and adopting characteristics of other people's cultures isn't a rare phenomenon. Sharing interests and being able to communicate about similar topics with everyone around the world thanks to the universalization of popular culture is highly beneficial to bringing people together. In a world where people deemed as different, especially marginalized people, are treated as outcasts, and in a world where mistrust and even hatred towards people from different cultures is commonplace, having a way to allow people to get along is crucial to the well-being of society. So what should we do, given all these opportunities to forge a better society thanks to globalization? As both Kate and my father said, globalization is a great way to bring people around the world together, and a great way to help us integrate people who don't share the same ways of life as us into our society, allowing for us to be accepting, accommodating, and to all in all, make the world a better place. We just simply have to be accepting of people, accepting of embracing different cultures, and respect for people's different opinions and differences, and connect with them through the opportunities globalization provides us. We would be allowing everyone to have a healthy respect for cultures and people all around the world.
Nowhere that I done. Nowhere that I done.
Outcasts in a world where cultures isn't a rare phenomenon. And when you think about it, if we merely respect people's opinions and differences, ouch! Alright, so now that you guys have heard about my dad's experience with global ouch! I can't believe I done that. That's stupid.